Politico is citing this, a new Quinnipiac poll, which states 60% of voters disapprove of the U.S. sending military aid to Israel.
This coming as several European nations are set to recognize Palestine as a state. And Reuters poll saying this, a Reuters poll saying 58% of Americans believe that every country in the United Nations should see Palestine as a nation. Joining us now for more is former U.S. Ambassador to Israel and author of the book, One Jewish State, David Friedman. Ambassador, thank you for coming on, and we do appreciate that. So we show you these polls, and our viewers, we show that polling out of most Americans disapproving the alliance of the United States, America. And if indeed you went on those factually based analysis from the polling, why do you believe that is? Why is it that that outcome came to be?
Well, unfortunately, it's a function of the narrative that's been it's been an avalanche over and over again in much of the media, not your network and a couple others. But look, when the New York Times puts a picture of a bloated, bellied, poor child, on the front page and attributes it to Israel starving that child, even people of good faith are going to be, unless you're incredibly callous, it's going to move you, except for one thing: that poor kid is not starving. That poor kid has a genetic disease that causes this unfortunate condition. Of course, the Times doesn't say that. Now, when they realize they're wrong, they publish a retraction in a different publication, which gets about 1/10,000th of the viewers. So that happens over and over again, and people who don't have the time to really get into the facts are seeing Israel portrayed as an aggressor against civilians. Couldn't be further from the truth. But there's a lot of that out there, and I think as people hopefully over time get more truth out of this, the view will change. I sure hope it does.
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking for answers and facts. I wanted to show another poll with you. This is a Harvard-Harris poll. It takes a look to your point about what's happening when it comes to famine in Gaza. It says this. Oh, that was a different thing. The poll, though, was looking at it. It said most Americans do believe that there is a famine in Gaza, but there is some responsibility for Hamas, the group responsible for it. Does that also play into the narrative as to who's letting food come in and out? Because you've got all these sort of humanitarian groups that are apparently trying to get food in, but it's getting in the wrong people's hands.
Well, look, I was very proud of our administration today. There was a Security Council meeting on the issue to condemn the famine, the so-called famine. And our representative got up, voted against the resolution, and made the point that the report that people are relying upon is deeply flawed. They've manipulated the data. They've manipulated the metrics. That they've clearly showed a bias. Hamas, of course, is to blame, entirely to blame, for the food shortage. They're commandeering the food deliveries. Gaza is being flooded with food. I mean, flooded. I mean, this food. Most of the food is rotting because it can't get to the people because Hamas is getting in the way. The only other culprit here is the UN. I mean, the UN is not doing its job. The UN should be helping refugees get out of harm's way. The UN should be helping food get to the right people, and they've utterly failed. And if I could just add one point, the one thing that also happened today that I'm so proud of is that, while the UK, France, and Canada they gleefully can't wait until the UN convenes so they can recognize a Palestinian state. Unfortunately, their guest of honor is not showing up to this party because Secretary of Rubio and he's totally following the law here. He has denied visas to the entire Palestinian delegation to the UN next month. So, look, our country, the United States, is fighting back. And as I've said many times, I'm not grateful that they're standing with Israel, although, of course, I feel that way. I'm grateful because they're standing for the truth, because they're standing up for the fact that there is no famine. They're standing up for the fact that the Palestinian Authority, just like Hamas, advances terror. They're standing for the truth. And this is, I think, something that as Americans we should be proud of, and it will ultimately